I'd like to welcome to the stage Mr. Mamuka Bakhtadze, the Finance Minister of Georgia. Welcome. Good morning. Take a seat. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bakhtadze, for joining us. A pleasure to see you. I think perhaps we can have a little rest from debt to GDP ratios and so on. We'll come back to that. Can you tell us a little bit? I know that you're closely involved in the Belt and Road Initiative in Georgia with China. I've spent a lot of time in China, and it's mentioned in every single meeting with everyone. And is clearly economically and geopolitically very interesting. Tell us about your involvement and Georgia's involvement in the Belt and Road Initiative, please.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Belt and Road Initiative is a very important idea for our country because historically Georgia was a main gateway for 8 landlocked, so-called landlocked countries, and from the first day when Chinese government announced about this idea, Georgia became a big part of it. We are the shortest link from Asia to Europe, and of course, from Chinese perspective as well, the role of Georgia is very important. In my previous occupation was as a CEO of the Georgian Railway, and that was actually my direct responsibility. So from 1st of January, we have officially now the free trade regime with China. We conducted successfully this negotiation a year ago, and I would say that the free trade regime is also part of Road and Belt Initiative because it's not only about developing the hard infrastructure, it's about developing the soft one as well, especially the free trade regimes. We as a government, we are spending in big investments for this idea, not only Georgia, actually all the countries along the corridor, Kazakhstan, Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, all countries in Central Asia. The total amount of money actually invested in hard infrastructure for Road and Belt Initiative is more than 22 billion USD, so it's pretty significant amount. So in Georgia we have big projects of modernizing our railway system, constructing new highways, also construction of a deep sea port on the Black Sea shore of Georgia. And generally, of course, our idea is to significantly increase the trade with China. Now, with the statistics of 2017, China is number 5 in terms of trade partners of Georgia, and I think that soon we will be able to double our trade. And of course, it's not only about trading; it's about also providing more efficient logistical solutions to the big companies, because we have free trade regime with European Union, as you know, and Georgia has a chance to play a significant role of a bridge between economy of China and EU, and we have the special actually agency which is working to create additional capacities of logistics for logistical services for our country.
Do you foresee, thank you, do you foresee China being equally or perhaps even more important than the European Union to the Georgian economy?
European Union is the #1 trade partner for Georgia, and it's a political aspiration of Georgia and Georgian people to become a part of European family, because in fact Georgia is a part of Europe historically, culturally, and etc. What we say is that we can facilitate, because geographically Georgia has a unique location, so we can facilitate to increase the trade between East and West. You know, it's the 21st century, and traditional route of trading between China and Europe, between India and Europe, has all been the maritime transport. But now time has become more, more pricing. So if we are able to decrease the transportation time 3-4 times, why we should not use this opportunity? Yeah, that's gonna bring additional business potential for the European companies, I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. Perhaps partly explains a reasonably rosy picture in the economy of Georgia. GDP growth last year of 5%, a pretty low sovereign indebtedness compared to Western countries, budget deficit of 3%, which is all good. The most standout statistic on the Georgian economy is perhaps the levels of FDI that you've seen in the last few years, according to the EBRD, averaging around 11% of GDP per year. That's an enormous number, relatively speaking. What's driving this interest from outsiders, and is it the things we've just been talking about?
Of course, free trade regimes definitely support attracting FDIs. But I would say that 2017 was a big milestone in economic history of Georgia, because initially, there were different figures. The growth rate should have been no more than 3.5%. The budget deficit was around 4.3, etc. But we started very important and structural reforms in January 2017, which gave us very positive results. And as you have mentioned, the GDP growth is 5%, while budget deficit is only 3%. We have also significantly decreased the current account deficit from 12 to 7%. Yes, FDI is a primary focus for our government. 2017, we hit our historical maximum, and we do believe that 2018 would be much better. We are trying our best to create the investor-friendly atmosphere in the country. We are number 9 in terms of doing business, in the world. So also the tax burden is very low. We are number 9 as well in the world. So we totally abolished the corporate tax in case the company reinvests the money. We have significant improvements in our infrastructure as well. So together with the free trade regimes that we have, these are the good preconditions for the country to attract more direct investment. The population of Georgia is no more than 4 million people, so it is of vital importance for us to be efficiently integrated in a worldwide economy through these free trade regimes.
Thank you very much. It gives you a bit of a problem with your current account deficit, but I suppose a nice problem to have in the context of the FDI. We're almost out of time. I just wanted to ask you for the audience here, many of whom are from banks. You've announced that you're going to enact developments in the capital markets in Georgia as part of your association agreement with the European Union. Tell us very briefly about what that means.
So capital market development is a top priority for our cabinet. We have around 12 new initiatives which we're going to launch in 2018. Parliament of Georgia has adopted 3 very important laws. So the regime is very liberal. So we have almost abolished all main taxes for the international investors in case they're going to have activities on our stock exchanges. And we're also going to do very significant investments in the IT infrastructure, so that the international investors from other platforms as well would be able to do the trade with the securities in Georgia. In 2018, we're going to also start issuing the so-called benchmark bonds.
You'll have a queue outside the door the moment you walk out.
We're going to do actually many other things as well, especially in terms of pension reforms, in terms of creating the new law for derivatives. That's not only our prediction, that's also the prediction of IFIs, that in around 5 years, Georgia will become the main hub for capital markets of the region as well.
Well, good luck with that. Minister Bakhtadze, thank you very much for talking to us this morning. Plenty more to talk about, I'm sure, but time runs out. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.